What's going on, everyone? Today's video is going to be about detecting and fingerprinting web application firewalls, intrusion prevention systems, and intrusion detection systems. So basically, why would you fingerprint and why would you detect if there is a web application firewall, IPS, or IDS in your target network? Because first, if you are testing from a black box method, okay, you need to determine if there is a firewall, IPS, or an IDS running in place, because your method of penetration testing or method of testing the target would completely differ in the case of, for example, if there is no firewall or if there is a firewall. In the case of white box method, or in the case where you have a client and you need to fingerprint their network, you need to tell them what are their chances of not being hacked with the firewall or without the firewall. So you need to have some skills, or you need to know how to detect and fingerprint a firewall in order for you to fingerprint the targets, determine what there is on the network, and if you need to bypass the firewall, you need to determine what kind of firewall there is behind the network. So you can do that basically, guys. Um, we're gonna explore today how we can do this using three tools. We have Burp Suite, and we have Nmap, and also I have used WAF000F. So let's start with Burp Suite. How can we do this? So basically, I have gathered all of my testing and compact them or condense them in three white papers. So guys, you don't need to wait till I send the packets or don't need to wait till my work in progress. So you can see everything now in screenshots. I hope this is very helpful for you and time saving. So basically, guys, a good indication of an existence of a firewall is the HTTP headers. So basically, you can see the screenshots over here. As you can see, there is a request sent, okay, from a client machine to the web server, and the web server returned a response. And also, as you can see, there's a screenshot taken from Burp Suite while intercepting the traffic sent from the web server to my client or to my machine. So basically, all firewalls or intrusion prevention systems leave like footprint or leave like a trace in the HTTP response in case they are protecting a web server. So we're trying to know if there is a web application firewall behind a web server. So when you interact with this web server and send a request to the web server, you're gonna retrieve an HTTP response back from the web server. In this HTTP response, you can determine whether there's a firewall or not. In this case over here, as you can see, some web application firewalls add their own cookie, as you can see here, in the communication between the client and the web server. For example, if we set a proxy like Burp Suite, okay, and then when we filter all the HTTP requests, if we see an HTTP request where a cookie has been added by the web application firewall, we will distinguish that there is NSAF, which in this situation, uncovers and unveils that the application firewall is Citrix NetScaler. So if you are so one way is to intercept or send like normal request to a web server using Burp Suite, intercepting the request by Burp Suite proxy and looking at the HTTP response. If there is a cookie, like weird cookie, as you can see here, or in the next screenshot, as you can see here, I can see that many times the application firewalls respond with messages from them into the HTML code, which can be easily identifiable. As you can see, for many times we can face strange response codes like 991, 999, no hacking. So that may or may not be accompanied by a message, which pushes us back from attacking the system. You can see a good example from like indication of firewall by looking at this HTTP response, which I have sent to a web server. As you can see, XSS attack, and I have seen this response 999. Okay, forget about this word. 999 is like a weird response, which is an indication that there's a application firewall called Webnight WAF. So as you can see, we can use Burp Suite and activate the proxy, guys. Send a normal HTTP request to the web server, and then from the HTTP response back, from the code of the response or from the cookies or the header, we can determine if there is an application firewall running in place or not. Now, I'm not saying that this is the comprehensive approach or go-to approach in determining if there is a firewall or not. Sometimes the application firewalls confuse us by returning not returning any kind of footprint in the HTTP response. So in this case, we need to resort back to other methods of detecting detecting if there is a firewall or not. Now, let's go to the next method, which is Nmap. So in Nmap, we explained previously, guys, that we can bypass firewalls. But before bypassing firewalls, we need to determine if there is actually a firewall behind the network or not. So basically, as you can see, guys, Nmap is all about commands. So we just type Nmap, accompanied with options we need, like in terminal. And as you can see here, we have this. We can use Nmap scripts. Like in the first command, we use HTTP WAF fingerprint, and we put the target IP address, and Nmap will return or spit an output that would tell us if there is application firewall or not. So as you can understand, ---- script over here is used to select a script to run. And in the target's position, we put the IP address of the website that we can find with a reverse domain tool or whatever. So HTTP Web Application Firewall Fingerprints, as you can see, a script works by sending a number of requests and looking in the responses for known behavior and fingerprints, like we did with Burp Suite. But the difference is in Burp Suite, we are doing this manually. Nmap is doing the work for us. It's going to send a number of requests and look in the responses of these requests, like for known behavior and fingerprints, such as server headers, HTTP response headers, cookies, and other headers value. Now, if this doesn't work, we can move to intensive mode. Intensive mode, guys, works by sending additional web application firewall specific requests to detect certain behavior. We can use this command for the intensive mode if the regular mode didn't work. So basically, guys, the intensive mode, as you can see, is marked by 1. And we can use another method, other Nmap script, guys, that we can use for this is HTTP WAF detect. This script attempts to determine whether a web server is protected by firewall, intrusion prevention system, by probing the web server with malicious payloads. This is a very smart command, guys. So Nmap will send malicious payloads, and it will detect changes in the response code and body. So to do this script, guys, will send let me say, good requests, like regular normal HTTP request, and record the response. After that, it's going to take that response and it will match this response against new requests containing malicious payloads. In theory, your application shouldn't react to malicious requests, guys. So if you don't have a firewall, the web application or the website database will react the same to malicious payloads and regular payloads. But the firewall would not do that. It will react differently. And that's how this script will detect the existence of a firewall. So basically, if the aggro mode, as you can see, HTTP WAF detect.aggro is set, the script will try all attack vectors. It's going to be noisy, but it will try all attack vectors, and it will go as follows. I recommend you guys, if you are testing for a client, okay, in real case penetration testing, you use this command over here. Okay, the script can detect numerous IDS, IPS, and WAF products since they often protect web applications in the same way. But it will not detect products that don't alter the HTTP traffic. That's the downside. And results can vary based on product configuration. So basically, you can use this script if you want to detect firewalls for your client. It's going to work for like Barracuda application firewall, Bluecoat, Imperva, Apache Mode Security, guys. As you can see the screenshot here, I used Nmap on the ports 80 and 443 to detect if there is a firewall running, like example.com. As you can see, it says encapsula web application firewall. So use these three commands, guys, and use them based. You should differentiate and distinguish in which situation you would use one of these commands. In the case where you are allowed to do your testing, use either of these. So everybody knows you are testing, yeah? But if you want to escalate with like gradual testing, it's better to use this one and then escalate gradually. Now, let's move to the third tool, guys, which will help us, or which helps us detect the existence of a firewall. All of you might know this tool. It's WAF, W00F. Straightforward, guys. You just put the command and then the target, and it's going to detect if there's a firewall or not. So as you can see, google.com seems to be behind web application firewall. Now, some of you, this is the installations, download, and user instruction. Very simple. Now, some of you might ask if there is a WordPress website hosted on the cloud. Okay, how do we know if this website is behind a firewall? So basically, it differs based on the hosting. If you're talking about basic hosting like GoDaddy, HostGator, Rackspace, these kind of managed hosting, if you don't install a firewall like WordFence or iTeam Security into your WordPress, and unless there is an inbuilt firewall by the host, your system or your website is not behind the application firewall. You need to install WordFence firewall or iTeam Security in case you are running your website in the cloud. If you're using Google Cloud, okay, it's gonna, differ if you're using WordPress or like static website. If you're using static website, you need to put your Google Cloud instance behind a firewall, or you need to use Apache Mode Security, guys, as a firewall. So that's it for today. I hope you find this lesson somewhat helpful. And in the next lesson, I will walk you through how to bypass firewalls. We did that before with Nmap, but we're going to expand this to be more thorough and comprehensive. Thank you.